Julia Drayton-Crumblin is a James Island native, a mom, a wife, and a small business owner. Now she wants to become the next James Island Town Council member to tackle a host of issues on the island. I talk one-on-one with Julia about those issues for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Julia Drayton-Crumblin, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Yes. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You know, you are a James Island native, an entrepreneur, a wife and mom, and as you say on your Facebook page, you are dedicated to strengthening families and communities. In fact, you're giving back to the
Yes.
community that actually raised you. You say that this particular election is our vote, our backyard. So you're an entrepreneur, a wife and a mom. Why become a James Island Town Council member right now?
Honestly, why not? I wanted to do it a lot sooner, but I ended up having my second child, who is 2 years old right now, and so I poured into making sure that we became that family and understood what exactly it meant to be that having that new baby come into our lifestyle. But now seems the perfect time. He's two, he's thriving, and so of course, why not make sure that I pour into the community that that poured into me.
How exactly are you engaging with the constituents right now?
So right now, I am part of the children's committee with the town. We are hosting our first event in a couple of weeks, right after the election. I am a part of the business development committee with the town of James Island as well. I am a part of the neighborhood council, but behind the scenes, me and my family have still been a great part of this community. We make sure that my grandmother makes sure she takes care of the elderly in the community, and she's an elderly as well, but she makes sure she takes care of the elderly in the community. My sister cuts grass for a few people that are not able to get their grass cut as needed as possible, and we make sure we show up for those that truly need us in this current climate that we are in our political era of life.
But let me return to James Island. So,
Yes.
what is the state of the town of James Island as you know it?
Yeah. So the town of James Island feels a little bit divided. We are in three municipalities. So we have the town of James Island, we have the city of Charleston, and we have the county. And we have a lot of residents, as I'm learning, as currently knocking doors that don't know where they lie. Am I in the city? Am I in the town? Or am I in the county? And then you have to tell people, well, do you have a green trash can or do you have a brown trash can? Uh, so having that little bit of a conversation opens a lot of doors for people as well. And so when you understand exactly where you lie as a resident, as a town of the as a town in James Island, you're having that conversation. It's like, okay, so you're in the town. What can I do to provide those necessary needs for the people that need that in the community? Where do infrastructure lie? Where does flooding lie? How are we participating in those meetings? And what I'm telling people is to show up. We have to show up and voice our concerns so that the town understands exactly where we lie and what the things that we need for our areas, because a lot of the commercial areas lie within the city, and that's great, but the city affects the town. So how can we as a municipality come together and meet for the city and the county and the town? And the town, we have that infrastructural meeting with intergovernmental that meets about once a quarter with the city, the town, and the county. And that's great so that we can all come together and talk about the needs that we have. But we really need to understand on a local level what these residents are actually voicing and what these residents actually need, and where can we step in and where can we help and provide those resources. I'm big on advocating that. I hate that residents of James Island have to leave James Island to get resources. So how can we as a community provide those resources? We have nonprofit organizations that are offering those resources, but where can we meet in the middle? Because a lot of people don't know about those things. And it's a lot of the elderly community that is missing, that gap of where the resources can be met. And so how can I help? You have to meet people where they are. We have to meet the residents where they are. They aren't going to come to every council meeting. They aren't going to come to every other meeting that we have. So how can we hold those smaller local meetings that residents feel comfortable to voice?
Yes, ma'am. And I'm
I'm
running.
sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'm running out of time. But and I'll
Oh,
talk to you.
sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'll talk to you about that in a second. But how many residents are currently living on James Island?
So within the town residents, local voting residents, it shows about 3 or 4 thousand, but we can reach to that. I think it's honestly a little bit more and more that 7,000 number of gap of where we can reach. But a lot of people try to understand like how is my voice being heard? And does my voice matter? And what I'm trying to show the residents of the town, your voice matters. It matters a lot when it comes to the local agencies and how we run things and how we govern. And that's the biggest thing that I've been pushing as well, is bringing that community together to understand that we are one James Island. No matter the municipalities, we are still one, and we all have to work together.
Now, you obviously you talk about a lot of people who don't know what side of the island they live on, whether it be the city of Charleston or a county. So, how many people are trying to be annexed into James Island right now, the town of James Island, from the city?
So I've from the people that I've met that are living in the city, there are quite a few that are trying to understand how they can be annexed from the city into back into the town, because it was a big push, of course, back in, I would say, well, 2013, when they were coming forth and saying that, we need a lot of city residents, we need a lot of town of James Island residents to come within the city. So there've been a big push of a lot of people that want to understand how they can come back within the town, and I want to provide that resource and understand, like, hey, this is something that we can offer back within our town to make sure that our resources are kept. A hard number, I can't give you that, but I know from my point of view and speaking with residents on James Island, whether they're in the city or within the county, they want to be back within the town.
So, if they want to be back in the town, would the town have enough resources to provide sewer and water?
So the city, the resources from the town and the comes from James Allen PSC.
Right.
So I do believe that they will provide enough resources that can bring everybody to be back within, equipped, because a lot of the town residents are on county. Well, I'm sorry, excuse me. They're on sewer and septic.
Septic tank.
So
Oh. Oh, yes.
that are within the septic and the sewer. So it is something that I know that the town is avidly pursuing, as well as James Allen PSC, and making sure that the residents are provided with that city sewer and city water. When I moved back, my own property had to be relocated within the, I couldn't get, I couldn't get, the sewer and the city
Right.
at the same time. So you have to make sure you understand those resources. And as we develop and grow as a community, you have to understand that those city and sewer resources are going to be are are able to be within equipped within the town itself. So that's something I know that they're avidly willing to pursue and put forth for our residents.
Is that something they can put inside the budget?
That I will understand exactly once I get elected into town, exactly what the town can provide, but I don't see it as a forthcoming issue, because I know James Allen PSC is very. We had a meeting last week with intergovernmental.
Right.
They're very well equipped, and they're making sure that the residents we are meeting the needs of everybody. So I mean, the town and the city and the county, we are working together, but we also need to come together a little bit more, because there are residents who feel a little left behind.
I want to get to you about that in just a second, because we've
Yes.
heard about a lot about that. But obviously, James Island is built out, so you cannot grow any more there. But how can you actually grow James Island with smart growth?
In my opinion, smart growth comes from making sure the res
Right.
of how that growth looks, making sure we come together and say, okay, this could work for our area, this could work for different areas. We have enough commercial space, in my opinion, to make sure that we can have those smart developments. The residential side is a little bit different, because once you start building in the marshland and making sure, like, those things add a lot of pressure, that adds flooding, and then we are looking into streets and roads that are flooding just because we've added more development into that area. So we have to just make sure we are aware of the current maps, the current flooding, that have been projected by FEMA, so that we know what's going on. It can't be based off of something that was done 2 and 3 years ago. We have to do it based off of current maps. And does that mean we have to do it every single year? Yes. Will that cost money? Probably, but we have to make sure we are running off of standard maps.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. We're having some issues with the Wi-Fi, but
Okay.
no worries. But you talk about commercial and obviously residential. How many properties, commercial-wise, can be redeveloped right now on the town of in the town of James Allen?
In depth, honestly, that we as town residents versus city residents have to sit down and come together and have that open discussion about, once a new city council member of James Island is elected, and once the new town council members come together,
Sure.
we can have that open discussion of what does that look like for James Island. What does the current infrastructure mean for us? How can we improve a lot of these street roads that are run by SCDOT,
Right.
and make sure that we are updating them to code, and making sure there isn't a lot of flooding that comes into the neighboring streets and things like that. So I feel like it's a broader conversation that I wish I had an answer for at this time, but I don't. Not being fully immersed in the town as I want to be, and being hopefully elected, that will make sure that I understand exactly what we can bring, to the development of James Island.
What do you want the developers to bring to James Allen when it comes to development?
I want the developers to be smart. I want the developers to understand, exactly. We are an island. We are like, there is not a lot that you can do here, but we still respect growth and understand growth. Growth is inevitable. It's something that will always happen, but we also need to be very smart about it, and making sure that we provide the current residents, the future residents of James Island, everything that they need to survive here. We are an area, of course, we have not had nothing since Hurricane Hugo that has struck us that badly, but there's always that open discussion of something could happen. So we want to make sure that we are smart and focused on providing the needed resources for our residents, here on James Island.
Sidewalks, traffic lights.
All of those. I want to make sure that when we were at the intergovernmental meeting this past Thursday, they talked about updating the sidewalks on Fort Johnson Road.
Right.
They talked about the new roundabout that they're building on, Fort Johnson and Camp. They talked about the Successionville, road, stoplight that they're developing. So all those things will be necessary, that needed to be updated, because the Trojan High School students, the track team runs that Fort Johnson Road all the time. And as the oak trees continue to develop and grow, which we don't want to cut them down, but we need to make sure that we are updating our streets and our sidewalks to protect those that are crossing daily, and making sure that we understand the needs of those trees as well.
Well, how many of these areas need to be updated as far as streets and roads on James Island right now?
I From the intergovernmental meeting that we had, they have a list of things that they are working on, which I was truly surprised, and happy to see that
Okay.
there are a lot of streets and roads that they are working on. I do think they need to add a little bit more to that list, and I am open to having those discussions with them about streets and roads that are still dirt roads that need to be paved, a lot of roads that need to add sidewalks. But the city seems to be very open to making sure that we address those needed areas and structures, which I'm completely on board with, and honestly thoroughly happy about, to make sure that we, keep make sure that the citizens of the island are taken care of.
Speaking of the city, recently the City of Charleston's Committee on Real Estate voted unanimously to deny an annexation and rezoning of a PUD of 2.4 acres on James Island. The plan was for 38 townhomes, which would be located, according to some residents, on a dangerous curve of Farley Road. When you
Yes.
think of that particular plan, how should that be redeveloped right now if it could?
I would hope that it would be developed in some sort of park area. To be completely honest with you, we do have a lot of parks. A lot of parks on James Island, but to make sure that there is no additional infrastructure damage to residents that are around that area, being a park area would be the most adequate thing in my opinion. I will honestly want to go, once elected, go before the city and voice the opinions of the residents of James Island, because one of the things I want to make sure I do is meet with every single community on James Island and make sure they understand and hear, they feel heard, and go back and say, okay, these are the things that the residents of the island and the different communities are voicing, and making sure that they know that they feel heard and seen, because I know that's a big issue that they haven't felt. A lot of people feel like just can't come because nothing's going to change, and I want to make sure that people feel like they have a voice within this fight, of the annexation and the redevelopment and the upzoning of different areas and different communities within James Island.
You talk about upzoning, this might be a silly question, but you talk about the town of James Island. I just talked to Alex Crosby, who's running for Mount Pleasant Town Council, about this
Mhm.
yesterday. When you think about Coleman Boulevard, but is vertical growth ideal for the town of James Island?
Yes and no, in my opinion. Where you look at where James Island sits, you think of it as oh, a pathway through to Folly Beach. So you want to make sure that the residents, that the people that travel are see and able to view the different things that James Island has to offer. You want to make sure that we develop in a way that makes outsiders want to come in and feel welcomed, and that's everything that I want to provide within my platform. Is you don't have to be a Binya, but you can be a Kamya, and you can feel welcome within this area. The development of James Island also depends on making sure that the residents understand what that looks like, and making sure that we are all in cohesive in that, and understanding that everybody has an opinion, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but everybody is aware and has an opinion of how that looks for the entire James Island. Because one thing doesn't, whatever happens on Folly Road, whether it's in the city or the town or the county, it affects all residents of James Island.
And the entire Low Country, for that
It
matter.
does. It does.
how do
It does.
we how do we rethink Folly Road?
Whew. That is a broader conversation that all municipalities have to come together and really have a sit down and conversation about. Folly Road is a well traveled, well known road within the Low Country. And I think between the county, the city, the town, and the city of Folly Beach, we all have to sit down and really have a hard conversation about that, and exactly what that looks like for the residents, because we can want to do something for the outlayers and making sure that it's feasible for everybody, but we have to think again of the people of the community that it is affecting, and making sure that we all are taken care of. I know they mentioned some speed bumps along the ways in different areas, and I'm all in board for that, honestly, to just make sure that we don't have a lot of U-turns and a lot of accidents. Between Camp Road and Folly Road, you have the middle school, And the kudos to the middle school principal. She has made sure that, she stopped a lot of that through traffic, so there's not a lot of that long line traffic that leads into Folly Road, to making sure that, parents can pick up their kids at an adequate time. So listen, kudos to the district and making sure that that is aware and taken care of, because that's a big leap of a lot of what that traffic can be like. So we just have to be aware and come together, and as residents, as travelers, and people who speak for, the Folly Road, what does that look like for all of us together?
I travel Foley Roll all the time, whether it's going to Walmart or Tropical Smoothie to get my smoothie,
Yes, yes.
And when I worked at the restaurant group many years ago, I worked out there on Foley Beach, so I would walk
Mhm.
from the Harris Teeter on James Island out to Foley Beach.
Yes.
When you look at that particular area, is that area more ideal for more homes or redevelopment in the James Island area?
I want to make sure that we protect as much marshland and sea land as we can for the island. We have thrived as a community. We are an island. That's not nothing that's just to say like, oh, it's James Island. Like, we are an island. So I believe in making sure that we protect as much marshland and sea land as possible for us, so that we thrive.
Has the town of James Island and even the PSD, have they been able to update their mitigation plan? Have they been able to do an environmental study on these areas that want to be redeveloped by the town government?
So I know they are in works of doing a lot of those things,
Mm.
especially within that intergovernmental meeting. They are working and understanding exactly as the redevelopment happens. Like, a lot of the dirt roads that they're doing, they're making sure that they pave those dirt roads for those, areas that people have bought more houses in those areas, and that's great. And I love that, because those are things that I know that needs to happen, within James Island. I mean, we were a dirt road area. Like, I grew up on a dirt road that was paved no longer than probably like 15, 20 years ago. So I am a product of everything that you have seen grown and developed on James Island, but just making sure that the residents and the people, are aware of those things that happen, and
Right.
I'm fighting for, because there are so many people that I've come in contact with, like, they just don't know. And it's trying to figure out that gap of how they don't know. Is it we aren't reaching you enough? Is it are we not holding those sit down conversations? Do you not feel heard, and your concerns aren't being met? What does that look like for us as a community? But we as a town have to make sure we are making sure, like, our residents are aware and up to date on the things that are happening on James Island, because it affects us all. It really does. We are one James Island, whether it is the town, the municipality, it doesn't matter to me. We are still,
Yes, ma'am.
make sure we stand united within that.
Is the town effectively communicating with its citizens?
They communicate the best way that they can. Do I feel like they can reach more citizens? Yes, of course. What does that look like? I don't know, but I want to figure that out once I become elected. Like, once I am sitting in that seat, and I am speaking it into fruition, because I know that it's something that I want, and that is needed for here. We will figure out a way that all the citizens of James Island can be met, and that's no regard to the town and what they're doing, because they are doing exactly what they need to do and how they think it is possible. But there are a lot of us citizens that feel like they have not been met where they need to be met, and I want to make sure that I meet them there.
And you talked, Ms. Julie, earlier about those houses, new homes, and stuff that are coming to James
Hmm.
Island. How many homes are being built at a fairly consistent rate right now on the island?
It's honestly is not at such a great risk as you would think in other areas in growth and development. But as a person who is a local and native here, it's something that is, to me, and probably the citizens that have grown here, that it's seen at a greater risk. But it's also not within the town. It's within different municipalities that James Island is made of. So we also have to be aware of that. It's not the town that's just bringing up these houses and allowing people to build and upzone and redevelop and do all these things. The town has great meetings where they talk about upzoning any sort of lot that is within the town meeting, like within the town district.
Right.
So all those things are being forth and brought forth, but citizens, if anybody has any discrepancy about what they feel, they have to come and talk to those town meetings, write a letter, send an email, so that
Yes, ma'am.
that we have some sort of grievance about anything that may be coming new that they don't want. So I feel like, in my opinion, on that regard, in notifying people about what is happening within their direct community, the town is allowing people to be well made, aware of. When I wanted to start my childcare facility here, I rezoned a house. I had to go before the town. The town sent letters to everybody within, I believe, 500 feet within that house. They made sure that they put a sign within that yard to make sure residents knew that something was coming about. And they sent out the Facebook post, they sent the email. So I do believe they're doing an adequate job to reaching the people that they can, and saying, like, this is what somebody is proposing. If you agree or if you don't agree, come forth and let's talk about it at the next Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, and we will hear all your grievances as a council and make sure we address those things. So I do think they are doing the best that they can, but I do feel like there are some residents that aren't being. A lot of people you can't. A lot of people just can't get to it at a lot of times, and you have to be aware of that situation. And that's a tough road to battle. To making sure you feel like I'm reaching everybody, but making sure that there's still a few that are left behind. But with my rezoning, I made sure that I I tapped every resource that I could, and I made sure that I called as many people as I can to get people to come, to send letters, to sign my petition, to get my rezoning for my daycare center so that I could have the first daycare center on Honey Hill. And that was something that I really pushed forward for, and the town was very in support of, in making sure that I did everything that was necessary. So it's not anything that I'm shy of showing appreciation to, but it's making sure that I also did the needed things to put that forward as well.
And speak of proposals and whatnot, as you know, the Post and Courier probably recently published an editorial supporting high density housing in the Charleston area. Is that ideal for James Island?
Ideally, from a native resident speaking, I don't think so. But as a person looking outside in, I really want to understand what that looks like for each lot, and each specific lot, and where you are zoned and how that looks. Because personally, my lot was zoned, half of the lot from the new FEMA laws was zoned for a half of a flood zone and half not. But once I put my home on that lot, the whole entire lot was zoned under a flood zone.
Right.
So that's something that you have to understand as a homeowner, and what those steps are taken necessarily. So you can say that nobody informed me, but those are things that you have to understand as a new homeowner, and things that you are pursuing within the area that you want to live. So those I won't say in totality that it is somebody's fault, because you really truly need to understand what you do, what you are as a homeowner, and where you are buying property and how that looks for you.
And when it comes to James Allen, where are people buying properties right now? What's that hot spot?
Oh my gosh, like there are a lot of homes that you see for sale now that are coming about on James Island, but I know they're doing some new developments in certain areas. So I feel like that hot pocket is, of course, as close as you can get to Folly Road, and is as close as you can get to Folly Beach, and making sure that they get into that area, the Soligree area, because it's on the marshland, of course. So there are a lot of areas that people are strategically targeting.
Right.
Island. I'm right off of Fort Johnson near the high school, and it's the perfect area for me. But you have people that want to be closer to the water and closer to those things. So it really depends on where the availability comes with real estate on James Island.
Yes, ma'am. And I know recently the city of Charleston approved designs for a four-story apartment building to be built in the last green space left in the Maybank Gathering Place on Maybank Highway in Promenade Lane on James Island. This
Yes.
apartment complex would put the total number of units to over 800 units right there near an intersection that ranks an F at Maybank and Farley Road at the Wapoo Cut. Tell me, is that zoning ideal for there?
Not in my opinion. It is not. I'm very familiar with the Maybank area. I drive it very frequently. You have to get it to get across the bridge. If you take the back way on James Island, and ideally, it's not something that I would particularly want there. But I understand the growth and development. I just want it to be smart and effective for those that are already there on James Island and have residents on James Islands. Because yes, those are apartments, but there are homes that have been there before my time, and I want to make sure that those people are well taken care of as well.
And if you go right down the road, of course, there are some rumors that someday the city would like to build single residential homes on the city's battlefields on Fort Johnson
Mhm.
Road and also behind the Food Line Center off of Riverland Drive.
Okay.
Can there be additional single family homes in that area?
Do I agree where there are trees people will try to develop? Yes. Do I think it is the best decision? No. I do believe that James Island is at its surplus of where it needs to be. I do think that we need to protect everything that we have now. I do believe that there is enough that people can love here and visit here and travel here and make an adequate living. But I do strongly believe that we need to protect everything that we have now.
What can you protect on James Island these days?
That is just, you have to make sure you show up to those meetings. You have to make sure that you voice your opinion. You have to make sure that your local officials know and understand where the community stands, for what they are trying to protect. We all know about the Facebook groups that exist and the people that say those things, but we have to show up. That is the biggest thing that I am pushing. That James Island has to. Another thing that I'm pushing. I'm gonna say the biggest, but James Island has to show up. We have to make sure that we voice our concerns and our opinions, and make sure we write to those city officials and those constituents, and understand that we don't need the new development. We have enough on the island to provide the resources that we have for each other.
You talk about all of that. Of course, when you think about James Island, you cannot think about the settlement communities. How do we protect those communities?
Um, I believe we have to protect those communities by making sure the community protects itself. Um, I will say from experience, Solidarity has come together and making sure they protect their community. And I've had conversations with people of the Solidarity community to make sure that they know, um, that they have that protected space, and making so I want to understand what Solidarity has done to make sure that we can, put it in other developments and other communities that have those resources and that have brought those things to James Island, that native land, that undevelopment, that rawness of the Geechee Gullah culture, and making sure that we protect it. Like that is who we are. That is nothing that we can ever escape from, is that heritage that made us exactly what we are.
And when you think about James Island 5 years from now, 10 years from now, what resource do you hope to have in place to keep all of this intact?
I want to make sure first that our children are protected. One of the resources that I'm providing to the island is a child care center, so making sure that our children are protected. I want to make sure that we have in place, my nonprofit, Low Country Legacy, is doing things for the elderly, providing those resources that a lot of people can't meet and reach on the island, because I will be very frank with you. Like, a lot of people think the island is a profitable space, and it's a very it's a lot of money, but it's not. We have people here that have been here and are in need of a lot of resources. So I want to make sure that the people of the island are protected, and they know that the people of the island will protect them. So I want to provide that within my nonprofit. I want to provide that within my childcare facility. I want to make sure that in 5 years, the island feels protected. I'm not saying that they have not felt protected, but I want to make sure that the people I know and the people that I come in contact with feel protected. They feel like they know we have come together as an island. We have provided the things that we needed to for James Island for each other. I want to make sure that my kids are happy to grow up here. I want to make sure that everybody's kids are happy to grow up here. We have so many beautiful things that the town has created, but besides Mill Point Park and the other facilities that I want to make sure that they experience and feel protected in. There are so many things that I grew up with here on James Island that I know cannot be recreated, but I want to make sure in some sort of way that my children feel like they have experienced the island. They rode their bicycles, they played with the neighbors' kids, everybody felt welcomed, it felt community, it felt safe. And that's everything that I felt. That is everything that I felt. I felt safe being at home. And I want to make sure that in 5 years, other people's kids feel safe. My kids feel safe. Um, Together as a community. So I just hope that in 5 years, we are more of a community. We are more together. We are for each other. We don't allow, while the outside noise is there, we don't allow it to seep into what we are trying to build here.
Julia Drayton-Crumblin, thank you so much for your
Yes,
time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.